Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 40 of the Masters Muscle Podcast. Our guest tonight has seen his share of ups and downs, but always has a smile on his face. He is your 2003 Nationals Light Heavyweight Champion. Vinny, who am I talking about?
Kris, thank you so much. It is an honor to have you join us tonight. When I think about adversity and I think about being inspired, I mean, we were just talking off the air a little bit, how you and I were talking back in 2018 and 2019. I was coming to you for inspiration because of what you've been through. If once people hear your story, if no one's motivated by what you've done, what you've been through, I don't want to give too much away, but I want you to tell your story. Let's start out by going back to how did you start getting into competing? Did you play sports before? How did you start out?
Yeah, you know what? I appreciate you guys having me on the show. It starts off, honestly, was getting stronger for wrestling in high school. I was a 98-pound weakling, and so my freshman year in high school, and I wanted to get stronger. That was the whole thing was, get stronger. So that way, when I do wrestle and put on a little bit more weight, and it started off that way, but what happened is muscle memory. I don't know what it is, but I look like a little mini Bruce Lee, And at the time, my coach used to bodybuild, and he said, "Hey, you should do a bodybuilding show." I said, "I'm not putting on those low speedo, man. Forget that." And I know we've all have our shares of that, from the beginning, because we go back to just bodybuilding, So it just started off that way, but then I got on stage at the age of 17 years old.
Nice.
And I was hooked. I took first place overall on Best Poser. Back then they had Best Poser too. So in the teenage division, and I racked home 3 trophies. And after that, I was hooked. That's how it started off.
And where was this? What state were you coming from?
This was in Sacramento, but the show was called the Santa Rosa Classic at the time, and here in California, that is. So
Okay.
that's a show that I did, and right after that, I wasn't thinking about the little speedo anymore.
Was John Lindsay the promoter?
It was John Lindsay. Yep, John Lindsay was the promoter back then.
Yeah, he was he had his footprints in the NPC in California for what? Like
Steve O'Brien also. No. It wasn't John Lindsay. It was Steve O'Brien because it's Northern California versus.
Okay.
John Lindsay would be in Southern California. He did most of the show out there.
Yeah, he had a lot of shows. John had like 20,
and
30.
Of course, Taman took over all the shows now, and then he grew it to like 5 times the amount of what John did.
Yeah. I mean, California's huge right now with all those shows.
Yep.
Kris,
So,
your first show, did you have to diet? Were you already lean? I mean, what you have to do to get ready?
I was already lean, but I did like a 3.5 week diet. I was already ripped, and it just started off that way. And diet went from 3-4 weeks, and then I was suddenly at 6 weeks, and then it's 8 weeks, and then we just start dieting longer and longer as I put on more muscle.
Yep, and more fat.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you lead into like on a national level?
Well, I won the Mr. USA. I won the Mr. California when I was 21 years old. And then I took a couple years off and I came back at 23 and I did the USA and I took 6th place. And then I kept battling back and forth and they told me to stay in the middleweight class. But I was putting on more muscle, so I said, you know what, F this. So I went to light heavy. And I kept taking second until I, after 14 years of training. And I was kind of like your story almost. And it got to the point where like, you know what, I need to hire somebody who really knows their stuff. And then I hired Milos, and then he got me winning the Mr. USA show in 2002. And then I came back and lost to Richard Jones at the USA at 2003. But then I won a national. But then right after that, I did 4 months later, I did the San Francisco Pro and qualified for the Olympia right off the bat. 4 months after I turned pro.
Now, did you do the nationals in 97, 98, 99? Or you were in the USA's?
I did. I would say the national at, I would say 99, 2000. But I wasn't up there placing where I wanted to be.
Because in 99 and 2000, I placed third in the light heavies.
Okay. I think I did it right after you, if I remember right.
Because I feel like we've known each other so long, but I don't feel like I don't remember being on stage with you.
Yeah, you competed first, and then I came in the picture when you kind of, quit for a little while.
Yeah, because 2003 was like, that was it. I felt like I'm never going to get this pro card, and there's no reason to keep going. And I actually said, I'm retiring. And I opened up my personal training studio. Yeah.
What's weird is that in 2002, when I did the national and I took second, and then Milos and then Sean Ray and a lot of these guys call him the Beach Boy. He said, Milos was like, you lost to a Beach Boy, because he was a head judge, nothing against him. But I didn't even have him in the top 5, and he won it at the time. It was, what is his name? He beat me anyway. So I lost, I took second, and I was crushed. I was so crushed, and I said, I'm done with this, man. I'm giving up,
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember sitting at the dinner table, and then Paul Dillette came by and he said, look, you look good, man. You should have won that show. And I said, I appreciate it, man, but I'm done. I'm done with this politics. I'm done with this, what's happening and taking place. And he said, look, he goes, you took second. He goes, but if you don't compete, you're so close, you'll never get your pro card. He said, but once you're pro, you'll not be pro for life.
Yep.
So you're right there. And then Milos and we game planned for one more year. And I said, you know what? If I don't turn pro when I'm 30 years old, I'm done. That's it. I'm going to give it one more shot. And that one more shot kind of worked out because that's when I got my pro card. And the San Francisco Pro it was in my backyard, is an hour and a half away from me. I was already in shape. So I said, look, why not?
Yeah.
And I just happened to go in that show, and I competed, and I wasn't even the first call out. So what happened was they brought us out in pairs, and I happened to be paired with Kris, because there's so many guys at that show that they're like, you know what, we're going to bring you out in pairs. So they brought me out with Kris, and then every pose that Kris and I hit, I was tighter than him because Kris was off that day. Any day, Kris probably would have beat me, but that day I was tighter than him. And then they brought us back and lined us up, and then I was in the second call out. And then they brought it back, and then first call out went. And then after that, when they brought out the last call out, they brought me back in and smack in the middle next to Dexter Jackson, Lee Priest, and Ahmad Hadar, and Gustavo Bedell.
Gustavo, Mustafa Muhammad. I'm looking at the lineup here. You had a great lineup.
Amazing lineup. And Kris wasn't in that first call out because, like I said, he was off that day. And anyway, so they put me smack in the middle, and I was like, holy shit, is this really happening right now? And next thing you know, man, I qualified for Olympia at my first show, and it was history right after that.
How did you end up placing?
I took third at that show. It was Dexter Jackson, Lee Priest, myself, so top 3. At that show, I took top 3, and it's crazy because when I got caught for third, man, all you heard was boo, the whole crowd, because
Wow.
that was my town, and obviously they thought I should have placed higher, and but it was fun. I loved it, because I'm my first show, and here I am beating a lot of the top guys that was already been competing,
Nice. Excellent. I love it.
And then later that year, you go on the Grand Prix tour, and you're placing second, third, fourth, and fifth. Looks like you're having a killer year at the Grand Prix tour.
Exactly. I took so it's crazy because I got tighter at the last show. It was me, Ronnie, Kris, all of us. I mean, the Americans. We did the Russian Grand Prix, and then I did the Holland Grand Prix the next day. So it's 3 days, 3 different countries. And so we flew to Russia, and he got me there late, so I was holding water. He got me the night before, and I was pissed because I wanted to get there a couple of days before. And he got me the night before, and I took 5th at that show, and then the next show I took 4th, and then the next show I took 3rd and qualified for my 2nd Mr. Olympia.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was Ronnie, Kris Coleman, and then myself, top 3. And then I beat out Marcus Rule. So that I was pretty excited about that.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
Kris, how tall are you?
About 5'6".
Okay.
And I my best weight is about 205. When I try to play the size game at the Sacramento show, I came in at 2007. And I came in at about 217. I look blocky, so I would say my best weight's about 205.
Cool.
Gotcha. So were you starstruck? You turned pro, and are you starstruck standing next to, again, as you said, Kris Cormier, Lee Priest, like all these people you're seeing in magazines, or like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that was my thing. It was like, I'm like, holy shit, all these guys that are in the magazine, I'm beating them, and I'm actually getting on stage for them. So it was pretty exciting. I mean, like anything else, you feel like you accomplished something with all that years that you put in,
Yep. When you win your pro card, are you like, what's the end goal for you? Are you thinking you want to be top 5 at Olympia? Do you want to be Mr. Olympia? What's the end goal?
You know what? The crazy thing about it is my goal was just to keep improving, and I knew that I couldn't compete with, Ronnie and a lot of these big guys, even though I was on, at the Grand Prix with, standing right next to him. I knew that if I try to play the size game and I try to play their game, I'm going to lose, because I realized that. So what I did was I worked on improving myself. And that's what a lot of these guys that, that are competing, I always tell them over and over again, like, look, work on getting better. That's all you got to do. Every year, as long as you're getting better, then you get the job. But if you try to go ahead and pay attention to the judges, and it's so subjective that if you don't place where you want to place, you're going to quit.
Yep.
Yeah. See so many guys doing that, and they get caught up in, I got to be 15 pounds heavier. It says no, just be your best. And I always try to tell people, like what you're saying, go into the gym and create the physique that I say a lot of the new guys that have turned pro, whatever you did as an amateur to turn pro, keep doing as an amateur, because the fundamentals of what you're doing as a pro is, getting that crispness, the detail, the graininess, how hard you get. A lot of guys kind of like fade away when they start turning pro because they think they can be bigger, and then they don't place well.
Yep, they start playing the size game and then feeling like they have to. And we all done it. Everyone else has done it,
Yeah.
But, when you compete it, as long as we have, you get to the point where you're like, look, condition is going to be number one, and then the rest you put on the size, but quality size, and not getting out to where you're losing your lines.
I did it kind of the opposite for the Masters Olympia last year, where I kind of was getting a little stressed out as I was in Romania, and when I got there, I was very happy with the condition that I had, but then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should come in a lot tighter and more detailed and try to compete with these guys on conditioning when I was already in condition. And the balance act of being full and having that condition, I lost during that week. And it was probably the worst condition, not the worst, but, I wasn't happy with what I presented at the Masters Olympia. So sometimes it goes back.
You're more faded than the fullness and the tightness. Because a lot of time, you're right. It's like a science, right? We try to play the size game, and then we're like, nope, that's not good enough. And then what happens is that the last couple of weeks, sometimes it'll play with your head, and like, you know what? I just need to come in tight, right? So then you're like, kind of balancing back and forth. And that's why sometimes it's like, you know what? I don't even want to think. You tell me, you know, and find a great coach that's going to, you know, guide you, because if they have that eye for you, then they can guide you in the right directions, right? So it's kind of hard to judge on your own.
Oh, absolutely. But I kind of like got into my own head and just thinking like, oh, I'm going against these monsters. I got to come in better shape. And that just backfired. I came in flat. But if I ever get the chance again, we'll do it differently. Hopefully they'll have a Masters Olympia again one day. I know they're not having it this year.
Yeah, they need it. You're right. They need to bring it back to the Olympia, but then just, you know, put the Master Olympia with the Olympia, you know?
Yeah, that'll be great. Maybe hopefully Dan Solomon can take over and straighten it out, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit, go into how your health issues started to get involved in your life. And
You know, it's crazy is my mom and dad, they both have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And they used to always tell me every time I go get checked with the doctor, your blood pressure is high, your cholesterol is high. And I never took it serious, you know? And I always say, well, I work out, I eat good, you know, I'm fine, you know, I'm healthy. But, you know, and that's why a lot of the newbies that I work with now, I tell them like, look, you know, go get your blood work done, be safe. You don't want to go ahead and try to play Russian roulette coming into this bodybuilding career. And, you know, when your mom and your dad, when it's hereditary already, you know, and then you play the bodybuilding game and all the food and everything else that we do, you know, that doesn't help the situation either.
Right.
And I always tell people all the time, but look, man, don't play with the shit. You know what? This is really serious stuff. So anyway, it just got to the point where one day I was training my client, I felt 1,000 pounds on my chest. And I told my clients to call the ambulance.
Wow.
And this was 2009. That's the first time it happened. And so she called the ambulance. They came down. I was able to slow my breathing down to just relax enough. They took me in and they told my family that they weren't sure if I was going to wake up. And if I did, I was going to wake up with brain damage and paralysis. This is the first aortic dissection, by the way. And so when I woke up, I couldn't, you know, I was just like weak, but I was okay. You know, they cracked me, you know, my chest open. That was the first aortic dissection. And a lot of people who don't know about aortic dissection, it's not your heart, it's your aorta that's connected to the heart. That's what it's kind of like all your different your connections that goes to the heart from your aorta. And so it went to right brain, right hand, left hand. And so they did the first surgery. And when I woke up, walking to point A to point B, I was out of breath right away. And I started training myself to just getting on the treadmill from walking. Then I'll suddenly, you know, I'm running. So, and then start picking up a 3-pound weights. Then it went to 5-pound weights, and we just continue from there. So, and miraculously in 6 months, I gained everything back. I said, you know what? I'm not ready to end my career like this. You know, no, I'm sorry. That was 2007. And so 2009, I came back and I did it was the 212 at the time. I said, you know what, let me do the show. I'm not ready to end my career like this. So I did the 212, the Europa Pro in 2009. And I took top 3 and qualified for the Olympia again, 3rd time. So then I in the Olympia, I try to play the size game, you know, try to come in a little bit fuller, really filled up right after the weigh in, and I try to play a size game. Wasn't a good look. So then I said, you know what? There's a show coming up at the in my hometown, Sacramento Pro. So I did that show and I took 4th and I beat out Mark Dugdale, who was at the time top 3 at the 212.
Yep.
I said, you know what? I did my job because, you know, that was an open show. It wasn't a 212.
Right.
And there's about 30 guys in the class, and I took you know 4th place. So I said, you know what? I'm done. that was 2009. I said, I'm retired, no more. That's it, you know. And then I came back in 2011. They put a stent in. So they said that, you know, that was another surgery they did. It didn't hold up 2012. The blood flow was going around the stent versus through the stent. So I was back in the hospital again. And they cut me from the back of my shoulder blade through my rib cage all the way to the front of my stomach, filleted me sideways, took the stent out, fixed it. And cutting through the bone, what it does is that the nerve pain is there. Even now, the nerve pain feels like stun gun and sandpaper when it touches your shirt.
Wow.
And so that nerve pain never goes away. It's all the way across and all the way in the back on the other side. And let me tell you, I don't wish anybody on nerve pains like that, because it's so painful sometimes. I mean, I'm taking gabapentin, but sometimes it doesn't work. I'm so much pain I can't even talk.
Wow.
So that's what caused my spinal cord injury. So when I woke up, I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't move my toes. And I tried to feel my legs, couldn't feel anything. Took the first step and I dropped. And I said, holy shit. And I was kind of drugged up at the time, so I wasn't really sure what's going on. And then they put me in this ice suit for 2 days, and I was freaking freezing cold. And I was like, man, please take me out of this ice suit. Take me out of this ice suit. Because, you know, I didn't know what they're doing at the time. So then I come to find out they was trying to preserve my spinal cord injury, because they said it wasn't severing. They said it's just suffocated. From the surgery, being in the 15-hour surgery, was enough blood flow going to the legs, and that's what caused the spinal cord injury.
Wow.
And after 2 days, the doctor came back in, and he was just in New York City doing aorta and sports aorta. He did a seminar out there, and you know, there was all these doctors that learning how to do aortas on sports, you know, on us. And next thing you know, he said he looked on the big screen, and there I was, you know, talking about the aorta dissection. And he came back after 2 days not sleeping, and he looks like he's gonna cry. And he did my second surgery, so I've been cracked twice here. Third was a stent. The fourth one was a cut. And he said, Kris, he goes, I don't know what happened. He goes, I did everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm sorry, there's a chance you'll never walk again. And I remember at that time, all I did was thank them. I said, look, you know, doctor, I want to thank you for saving my life. I said, if it's me trying to walk again, that will happen one day. I said, but I thank you for saving me, you know. And I went ahead and people go, did you try to sue? Did they make a mistake? Did they do this? They do that? And, you know, we looked into a medical attorney, but at the end of the day, I didn't want to sit there and focus on that all day. You know what I mean? I want to live my life.
Yeah.
So that's I decided, you know what, I'm going to live my life. And I did rehab. I did a bunch of stuff. I started getting more movement in my legs. But then from sitting so long, I formed a pressure sore on my right butt cheeks. And right after that, it kind of effed me up, and it's been like 8 years and it hasn't healed yet. And so, you know, as soon as I get this thing to heal, then I can deal with life, because I can go back and do my physical therapy and everything else, and then go get some stem cells done, and hopefully, you know, start getting some movement. But, you know, I always have the goal and the dreams in my head that I'll walk one day again, but I have to live for now. I can't think about what's happening. And a lot of people, and I think sometimes they look at their circumstance, and then they're paralyzed, you know, paralysis, right? So basically they just get paralyzed, and they don't really focus on what they should be doing to improve their life and to get better, you know.
Kris, are you like a 1 in a million this has happened to, or have you found others doing research that this happens, you know, maybe more than people think?
You know what? I didn't do my research, so I really don't know. But
Right.
a lot of people, I always tell them, like, if your cholesterol's high, your blood pressure is high, please go get checked, because if you, like myself, no matter what I did, how clean I ate, it's hereditary. I got to be taking some type of medication, or else my cholesterol is just going to go off the roof, because both my parents have it, but you have to get that checked, because a lot of time it's what they call a silent killer,
Mhm.
get your aorta checked, not your heart, your aorta, because like I said, if your cholesterol is high, your blood pressure is high, what happens is that it's kind of like you have an artery, right? And it keeps blowing up like this, like a balloon, because it's trying to push through, right, the blood flow, and it's not going through. So what happened is that in time, if you don't get that fixed, it bursts, and that's what happened with the first one. It burst,
Oh,
and
interesting.
95% and 99% of the people don't live through that. Einstein, a lot of people don't know who Lucia Ball, what's his name from Three's Company.
John Ritter.
Yep, John Ritter. Like, they all die from an aortic dissection.
Wow.
But a lot of people don't know that. They think it's a heart attack. It's not.
Interesting.
Now, go ahead, Sean.
So, Kris, let's be honest, did you go through depression, or were you always like positive even when things were bad? Because
What? I went through, I said a month
Okay.
of depression, and I started eating, getting fat, not working out, and then I realized, I go, you know what? I need to snap myself out of this. I said, I
Sure.
have to do something. So I went on Amazon, ordered some hand control, because I didn't want to rely on people for ride. I put it in, start driving around the neighborhood, and I remember my son at the time, he was 9. He was like, please don't let my dad crash, And I started driving around the neighborhood, man. When you have a spinal cord injury, they take your license away.
Sure.
So I started driving around the neighborhood, and then brave enough to get on the slow lane, and then brave enough to get on, just on the freeway. And I learned how to put the wheelchair in the car myself. And I just started being independent, man, and start realizing, you know what? I got to take care of me. I can't sit here and feel sorry for myself and
Yep.
feel all depressed and feel all down, and that's when I had that picture. I don't know, a lot of people see the transformation with me in a wheelchair standing up, and then me, afterward. Then I decided to come back, and my dumb idea. So I'm going to do a wheelchair bodybuilding competition. I need to challenge myself, because I got to get in better shape again.
Well, that's when you and I started talking.
Yeah.
What year was that?
2009. Yeah.
Yep.
9 or 19.
In 2009, I said, you know what? I'm going to do a bodybuilding show again. F this shit. I need to get in better shape, because I can't be going through this fat depressions and everything else. So I did the Arnold wheelchair bodybuilding competition, took top 2, and then I took top 3 at the wheelchair Olympia. That was my first round. Now, if I kept competing, would I probably improve? Yes. But I only did it to challenge myself, and to let other people know that, look, no matter what trial and tribulation you're going through, you can get through this. But you're going to have to get your ass up and get going, and, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
You're amazing, man. You're amazing. I just remember you and I talking when I was coming back from my shoulder surgeries, and having a pity party for myself, and thinking, I can't talk. I can't think negative. This guy's like in a wheelchair. He's had success, been in the Olympia, and then he gets the crazy idea to do the Olympia in a wheelchair. Most people would be like, F that. My life's over. I don't want to know anybody in bodybuilding. Don't even bring me to a contest, and you're going to train for one. You were so inspiring to me in my comeback.
Seriously.
It was just, I mean, you have no idea the role you've played in the 8 Masters Pro wins I have right now.
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
No, I say that.
The crazy part about it is, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole entire life, because when you're your trunk isn't working from the belly button down, okay? And you can't get into a lot of these machines, you know? And I thank my wife for helping me, because she's the one that was helping me get into these machines. And I had to improvise a lot of the movement, you know, because I couldn't get into some of the machines. And she was taking the weights off, putting the weights on, spotting me, and doing everything. You know, she was my legs. And let me tell you, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. But I'm glad I did, because a lot of time with us is, man, we gotta really, really dig down. And if we never hit the pain that we need to hit, you'll never be able to learn from it and grow from it and get better, right? And a lot of people, they don't like to be in pain. They don't like to dig deep. They don't like to go through it, you know? But I always tell people, like, look, how are you ever going to learn? How are you ever going to grow if you never go through that pain, right? And some people, like, when their back is against the wall, that's when they work the hardest, right? Just like we were talking about Prescott off here, you know?
Yeah.
At Prescott, if they took this prize money, I bet you work hard, and you're 100% right.
Kris and I are both Cowboy fans, unfortunately.
Yeah, not the best right now. but well, at least we're loyal.
Yep. So
Kris,
are you personal training now? Are you getting people ready for
Yeah,
show?
I'm still doing online coaching, but a lot of people, like, my story doesn't end there. So when I had my spinal cord injury, I couldn't pee like a normal person. So I had to use a tube to push down, you know, my pee to pee. And it got inflamed, and there was time when I couldn't pee. So what happened is it backed up my effing kidney. So I'm on dialysis 5 days a week, and it takes up 1/3 of my day, which is about 4 hours.
Currently?
God, that I get to do it from home, because I used to go to the center 3 days a week. You know, you're dealing with, like, imagine like 50 machines on recliner going off. When it beeps, it beeps for, like, you know, when the time's up, it beeps. If there's a kink, it beeps, there's something wrong. And imagine 50 machines sounding like a car alarm, beeping constantly. And so I decided I'm going to do home dialysis. So my wife and I, we went to the center. It took us 5 weeks to learn it, and we thought we would never learn it, because it's hard to try to do everything with the machine. Anyway, so now we get to do it in our home, you know, which is the blessing. But the good part about it is I'm in my own seat recliner, and I do it from the house. And, you know, we own a place called Total Spoken, which is a health and a wellness center that my wife runs, even though we put our head together. And then I do online coaching. That's all I do now. And then some of the people that are local that I feel they have potential to go pro, I'll train them, and I converted my 3-car garage into a commercial gym. And so that's what I do now.
So Kris, is there ever a chance of getting off the dialysis, or is this now permanent?
Well, I have to heal my butt first. I got declined because I have a pressure sore. And then what happens is that if it gets infected, it can travel back up to the heart, right?
Okay.
So they want to heal this first. So I ordered a special pad that what it does is every 2 minutes it rotates. So I don't even have to do this anymore, pressure release. Okay. And so hopefully I'm praying that this pad will help heal my butt. So that way I can go back in and see if I can get a request for a kidney transplant.
Man, wow.
So yeah, man, you know, a lot of time you're gonna get hit with all these different things, and you think it's done, but just do it. I mean, a lot of people who's going through what I'm going through with you know, having a catheter full time now attached to, you know what, because I'm very transparent with you guys, like even on my page, with a pressure sore, with nerve pain 24 hours a day, you know, and then doing dialysis on top of it all off, and then being in a effing wheelchair, right? Most people would give up, say, I'm done, right? But to me, I just believe that there's a bigger purpose why we're on this earth. If we're still alive, okay, there's something bigger than yourself, and there's a bigger purpose why you need to keep pushing. And a lot of us, they don't really think like that, and they should, because You know, whether you believe in God, you believe in the universe, you believe in, you know, Allah, whatever it is, that there's bigger purpose than why you're still here, and you need to push for that purpose.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Easier said than done sometimes, but you know, hearing stories like yours, how can anybody complain when they, like, I know family members that you know, they're always telling me, you know, they need to get in shape, and they're probably listening right now, so they're going to get mad at me later, but I'm going to say that. I'm just not going to mention names.
You know who you are.
To talk about, you know, their feet hurting them, and you know, I'm like, well, if there's other options, you could do this, you could do that. No, you don't understand. I can't. And to hear you, like, there's so much you can do. So
You
much.
know, I just did a video, and I haven't posted it yet, but I did a video and I said, okay, let's talk about, you know, if you know, a lot of time we have life circumstances, we have injuries, we got shit that happens, and next thing you know, people like make an excuse saying, I don't want to hit the gym, I don't want to work out. But let me ask you a question. If I have an injury like me, when they told me that when I started, you know, have my spinal cord injury 14 years ago now, they said you're gonna have shoulder injury later on in life. I said, fuck, they always tell me that shit, right? That's never gonna be me. My shoulders are gone. But let me ask you guys a question. Is it better, even if you have an injury, you can hit other body parts, okay? You don't have to hit that body parts to whatever injury, your knee or your back or your shoulders, whatever it is, okay? Is it better to get more blood flow in your system and get something out of it, or to not do nothing at all and get nothing at all?
You got to focus on what you can do and not focus on what you can't do. I say that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So like, stop making excuses and just get in there, because if you do something, you're going to get something. If you do nothing, you get nothing.
Let's go in a different direction for a second. Let's say that 1 month that you experienced depression lasted 14 years. You might have lost your wife. You might have lost your family. You might be in a home right now. You might be
Might not even be here.
Huh?
Might not even be here.
Might not even be here. You might have committed suicide.
Yeah.
You are, and I said it earlier, you're such an inspiration and a motivating factor to focus on the good and respect the negative. And I think that's your message. You're respecting the bad things that have happened to you, but you're not letting it control you.
But you can't. Here's the thing about what you have to understand in what everything that takes place in our life. You have to focus on what you can do, not focus on things you can't control and do.
Right.
Okay. And what gets me up every morning is I do my gratitude. I do 10 to 15 things what I'm grateful for every morning, and I say 10 to 15 things what I'm grateful for I go to bed.
Wow.
And a lot of people, they don't really do. Here's the thing: if you're in gratitude, you can't be in gratitude and be pissed off at the whole world at the same time. You can't. It's impossible. So a lot of people, they don't understand that it's, you know, there's a guy who's got no shoes, but he wasn't appreciated until he met a guy who's got no legs, right? So like, it's as simple as, I'm so happy and grateful I'm alive. I'm so happy and grateful that I can smell. I'm so happy and grateful I got my upper body. I'm so happy and grateful I have a roof over my head. I'm so happy and grateful I have a car to drive. I'm so happy and grateful I can drive myself. You know, and it's simple little things like that that people take it for granted.
Yeah.
So, Kris, we have a couple of people that are watching, also like commenting at the same time here. And one of the things that you are very well known for is your posing. Do you think that with today's climate, that posing is kind of fallen to the wayside?
I think a lot of people don't work on their posing like they do back in the day. But you know, you got to give guys like Samson
Samson Dowda.
He's an amazing poser. I mean, one of the show that he did, he mimicked Sean Ray, Flex Wheeler, all these guys, and he hit it like to the T. To be able to do that, you know how much practice it takes?
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of people, you know, they come in and they hit their pose, but they lose what bodybuilding is all about, is beautiful pose. You know, like guys like Sean Ray, guys like Flex Wheeler, guys like Milos, all these top dudes who really flow. And to me, I think if you're going to be a bodybuilding, you got to learn how to pose. You got to take the time and be an artist.
You know, to add to that, Kris, I agree with everything you're saying. And a lot of people today, because they're in classic, they don't realize classic is really just a weight class to fit into a height class.
It's just bodybuilding, but just a smaller frame.
Yep. And they do these poses trying to mimic Lee Labrada or Frank Zane or whatever. And they don't know how to do these poses. And I think that's what maybe the viewers are saying, meaning right now, because when you see a guy like Samson who knows when he hits and he executes a pose, it flows with his physique.
Yeah.
And then there's guys you see at a pro show that have been in only maybe 4 or 5 years in bodybuilding, and they don't know the history. They don't know how to do an archer pose like Frank Zane or a vacuum. And they're doing these poses and they're not looking good. And there's so many other poses that they could be doing. And I do it all the time with competitors when they execute a pose in the men's room. And I'm like, dude, that's not the pose you want to do. Do this pose.
Well,
like,
they have to hit poses that works for their physique.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
And so like when you hit a front double bicep, you know, you hit that front double bicep. Sometimes it's like, you know, with me, I like to hit it and then blow it out, right? So then my abs are coming in with my double bicep. So it just flows for me. But like you gotta hit these poses and try a bunch of different ways and figure out what works best for your body.
Yep. All right, I agree.
Kris, someone else is asking here, what is your Mount Rushmore of old school bodybuilders?
You know, I like, it started off with Lee Labrada. That was one of my favorite because of the fact that he's shorter like me. And then it went to Kevin Leroney because I always like his physique. And then, you know, there's a picture that I post in my Instagram with me and Kevin, you know, side by side, you know, and because they said that was the closest physique, you know. So I mimic Kevin Leroney. That was my guy, you know.
That's cool.
Awesome. What about two more? If you had to do a top 4.
Okay, so then it would be Flex Wheeler and then Sean Ray.
Awesome. It's interesting you didn't mention any Olympians, which is refreshing.
Well, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, to me, it's like, you know, I won't mention name, but a couple of the Olympia, they're not the best poser.
Are you surprised now, Kris, with looking at the number 1 and number 2 bodybuilder, that they're smaller bodybuilders, meaning Hadi and Derek? Does it surprise you that they were former 212ers?
You know, yes and no, because I know that, you know, for them to go from a 212 to open show, I know how much work it entails for them to get there because they really have to work on putting on that mass, right? So they have to work their ass off to really pack on that muscle. And, you know, the more muscle you have, you know, some people might be born with great genetics to start with, you know, guys like Andrew Jack, right? He's got that, you know, great symmetry, fine line. And then you got other people who they got to work to get to that from 212 to that open show.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much food it takes.
Oh yeah. Like, it's funny, I was traveling with Ronnie at the European tour, and every time he turned around, I was always eating, you know. And he was like, eating again? I go, dude, I'm standing next to you. I don't have a choice. I gotta eat. If I don't, I'm gonna lose size. I can get sick and drop 10 pounds overnight. And it was just my genetics. So, but I never see the dude eat. I was like, man, when does he eat? And then he's just he got on the scale, he was 302. And I got on the scale and I was 202.
He could eat you.
Outweighing my 100 pounds. I was like, holy shit.
That's great. So let's segue into the Arnold Classic this weekend. You have a top 5 in mind?
Man, I wrote it down since you asked me that, because I was like, man, I better really think about this one. I know it's going to be between Hadi and Samson. Everyone always knows that. If they come in shape, that is, right? But you never know who the dark horse can be, right? And the dark horse can be Andrew Jack. It could be Horse, the new guy that Milos is training. He's got the height, right? Great shape, small waist. You got Akeem. You got Antoine. You got a lot of these guys, but my top 5 I would have to pick is between Hadi and Samson, and then from there it could be just my pick. You know, it could be between Akeem, Horse, and Rubio. I think Rubio's 6'2", you know.
Is Rubio the guy, Nexzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nexzilla.
Is he in it? I think he's not.
Unfortunately, he backed out at the last minute. I don't know if
shit. Okay. If he's out, then shit, man.
Andrew's out also.
That's going to be a really, really hard pick. I mean,
I think the top 5 finishes off with Antoine.
You think Antoine we make the top 5?
Yeah, I personally think the dark horse is going to be Akeem, and no one is expecting Akeem for what he's looking like right now.
If Akeem comes in fucking tight, he would be a Mr. Olympia. The dude looks amazing. He's got more than plenty of size. But you're right. Antoine, I was looking at a lot of his picture that he's been posting. He's nice and round and full right now. You know, I mean, he's putting on a lot of muscle this last year. So, I mean, it could be, and that's the thing is between first and second, it could be, you know, Antoine, it could be Rubio, it could be Horse, it could be Akeem, it could be De La Rosa. I don't fucking know, man. I can't, it's hard to say. It's like the Olympia last year when you're like, okay, here's a couple first, second, and third. But after that, shit, game's on.
Yep. Yeah.
This is the first first Arnold in years where 2 of the top 3 Olympians are in the Arnold together. Hasn't been done in many years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, Hadi has never competed in the Arnold, and he's got to redeem himself, you know.
Yep.
But then again, like I said, it's between Hadi condition, hands down. Ain't nobody gonna touch him condition. He's always coming on point. A Samson is just a bigger frame guy with a beautiful shape, right? So if Samson come in condition, I have to give it to Samson. But if he's off, it'll be Hadi. Those are my 2 picks.
No, I think Akeem is gonna squeak in there. I just have this feeling.
He could be in that top 5, top 4, top 3. I mean, you know, but I saw some of his picture that he posted. He looks great. I mean, you know, if he can keep that freaking condition and comes in tight, I think you're right.
I think if these guys don't mess with their sodium and their water, because they're looking like stage ready right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of them just say, oh, we're going to tweak this, tweak that. But then they go, I'm not going to really change anything. But then they change so many little things and it adds up to one big thing. Akeem walking on stage right now, the way I see Samson looking right now, Samson's not beating Akeem. I don't think so. But we'll see. I could be wrong. We'll see on Saturday.
You know, it's crazy how individually how they look, and some of them, especially on Instagram, they look freaking amazing, right? And then when they're actually standing side by side to each other, then you know right away, you're like, okay, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right there.
That's why a lot of guys were saying, the guy Nexzilla, what's his name? Rubio?
Rubio, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, you know, praising the ground he walks on. And I said, I don't know. He's a cartoon character, the way he's shaped, but there's a lot of pieces missing to him. He doesn't have the detail a lot of these guys have.
But if Rubio comes in tight, the guy's a freak. I mean, look at him.
That's the key, though. He's got to come in tight.
He got his pro card, right? The next day he did the pro show and took top 3 right away. And, you know, I hate to say it, but, you know, I love Samson because he's coached by, you know, Milos. But, like, there's some poses I was like, damn, Rubio looks freaking good, man. You know? So if he comes in tight and conditions, he's already got the size, he's got the freaking freaky legs, right? And
He's got a cartoon character.
Yeah, he looks like a cartoon character. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Kevin Leroney looking at him, and when he stripped down, Kevin was like, "Holy shit, he's on a different planet." So, but any of these guys can be the top 5. It could be Akeem, it could be Rubio, it could be, you know, Horse. I mean, those 3 guys is what I would pick for the top 5. But then again, Antoine looks freaking amazing too, and De La Rosa is actually looking pretty good too. So it's like
It's gonna be a big show.
It's
Vin,
really
have you seen
hard.
Akeem in person lately? I know you guys share the same gym once in a while.
What's that?
No, Vinny, have you seen Akeem lately in the gym?
Yes.
Oh, you have. So you've seen him personally then? Okay.
So you seen him stripped down?
No. But I could just tell. I mean, it's, you know, I walked in there. I had to go get something. I saw him. I didn't even get a chance to say hello to him. And you could just see I've never seen Akeem.
Is his face pretty sucked in?
Yeah. I've never seen Akeem like this before. And I saw the pictures, and I know what I've seen in the past of Akeem in person, and then seen pictures. And I'm like, the pictures don't do him any justice. And so if he's looking this crazy in pictures.
I've always been a fan of Akeem. It's just that, you know, his condition, you know, if but here's the thing. Akeem's been getting better at every single show, you know, and you're right. He could be the dark horse. He can come in and he can shock everybody because he's got the size, you know. He's just got to come in tight, you know. But that new guy Horse is and he's, I don't know, the pose that I saw when he hit that side, you know, twisted back shot.
Yep.
That was a freaking pose, man. I mean, his glutes, his hamstring, his back. I mean, that was like an amazing pose for him. So I'm like, you know, I know Milos posted a couple pictures of him, but you know, like I said, he's got the size, so you know he can match up there with the guys. It's going to be an interesting year. It's a 1 year that I'm like, fuck, I don't know, man. But I think for sure it can be Hadi and Samson. Those are the 2 guys that I picked for first and second.
Hollingshead's another one. I don't know if you guys have seen James Hollingshead from the UK. He's another one that's put on a lot of improvements.
He did. He's trained with Milos too. So
Milos has 3 guys in the show. Yeah.
So you know. But the thing about I just don't think he has enough size to match these guys. He looks great. I mean,
yeah,
he's peeled. But I think standing next to these guys, I think they're gonna outsize them a little bit. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, we'll see on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Vin, are you heading out? Did you get a ticket?
What's that?
Are you going to Columbus?
I am not going. This is going to be the first.
Oh, you're not going this year? Okay.
Like the first time in a long time. I actually had airfare in my hotel, and I canceled everything.
Oh,
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I was just like not in the mood to go. I mean, I'm going to walk around. Like I've done it like 25 times.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same thing. It's just the same. And
I'm not really big on the expo, man. There's so many freaking people there that. I mean, it's just like a herd of people walking by. I remember working, you know, I was sponsored by Weeder, so and I was in the back, you know, signing autograph, and just there's so many people there, man. You just feel claustrophobic, you know. I mean, there's like twice the amount of people there versus Olympia, you know. Expo.
Oh, sure, yeah,
because of all the different sports, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy. See, now I have the slapping contest.
Oh, they haven't had that at the Olympia too?
I don't know if they have it at the Olympia.
I mean, I'm sorry, at the Arnold?
Yes, smacking each other in the face.
Oh yeah, man, I've watched that. That's about I mean, Dana White, you know, he's promoting that, and
jeez.
I've watched it and I'm like, man, at least with like MMA, man, like, you know, it's moving, bobbing, doing everything else, right? Versus like sitting there, I don't know if I can sit there and just get slapped, dude. I'm like,
you're sitting duck.
Like you don't have a choice. You can't even freaking dodge it.
Yeah.
Oh man, funny.
Well, listen, Kris, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you sharing your story. Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you so much. Where can people get in touch with you for some coaching?
The best place to reach me is you can go to krisdunn.com, and you can go on my website, or you can go on Instagram. That's another thing that I'm pretty active on Instagram, and then also my website. And then of course, you know, if you're on Facebook, I'm on there too. So you can reach me pretty much in all the platform. But yeah, I coach men, and that's all I focus on. And I try to focus on people that are getting ready for shows or who just want to look jacked, you know. That's my specialty.
Nice.
And for people that are listening to this, it's Kris with a Kris, just to let people know that might be listening to this.
KRISDIM.
Yep. But again, Kris, it was truly an honor. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I mean, again, I've been following you for years, even before, you know, when you were just coming up the ranks like Vinny. But it's been an absolute honor, and thank you so much.
No, I thank both you guys for having me on the show and thinking of me. I know that me and Vinny, we kept, you know, going back and forth, and I just, you know, been so busy at the time. And then when you reached out to me again, I'm like, you know what, I'll make time, you know, no matter what, so that way I can get on the show and you know. But I appreciate you reaching out to me again, you know.
You're welcome. Of course, man. I wasn't going to let you go. Yeah. So again, thank you so much. And maybe in the future we'll have you back on.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, thank you guys too.
Thank you. Good night.
For anybody attending the Arnold this week, make sure you stop by Apollo Nutrition, as I'll be there, and shake my hand and let's talk about the podcast. But as always, gents, thank you so much and have a great night.
All right. You guys too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.